This gigantic planet-destroying Death Star exists to bring order to the galaxy. Currently, according to statistics, the Death Star I orbital station has a diameter between 120 and 160 kilometers. Smaller than the Moon, but enormous compared to the small satellites in our solar system. It would take $8.52 trillion to build it. And it would require 1.7 million personnel to operate the station, plus 25,984 stormtroopers and 342,953 Imperial Navy soldiers. If each person on the station produces 1.13 kilograms of waste per day, it would cost $564,925 per day to clean it up. And the daily electricity cost would reach $5.2 billion. Supplies for the crew would cost $274,000 per day, plus an extra $20,400 for tea or coffee and $233,000 for a laundry cycle, bringing the total daily operating cost of the station to $7.8 billion, far exceeding any expenses on Earth. Not to mention the $80 million cost for a single super laser shot. Now, let's talk about how to build the Death Star. First, you need a hypermatter reactor core and the construction of 4 reactor shafts along the equator, which are massive vertical columns that help distribute power and also stabilize the station's structure. This project requires a vast amount of steel, and producing enough steel would take 830,000 years, while transporting all that steel to the site would require millions of rocket launches. Once the Death Star is completed, we'll be forced to leave Earth for another planet, only to have it destroyed by a super laser. Destroying an Earth-sized planet requires a week of gathering solar energy. So don't stand near the beams when it explodes. With such enormous energy nearby, you could be vaporized in seconds. Newton's third law tells us that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, which means if the impact is strong enough, when destroying a planet using the energy of the sun, the Death Star would recoil at 77 kilometers per second in the opposite direction. Unless it is outfitted with an antimatter device. Antimatter is matter with opposite charges, and when antimatter meets matter, they annihilate each other. But it's best not to aim the Death Star at any planet in the solar system, as it can also be used to vaporize asteroids that threaten our planet. At least, when an interstellar asteroid is headed our way, we could destroy it before it annihilates us. What do you think?
See you next time.
What's hiding in the water? Did you see it? People encounter whales up close more often than you might think. Even though those people come out unscathed, it's undeniable that they get just a few meters away from the whale's meals. If you've never seen whales up close, it's hard to grasp just how intimidating they can be. In the long run, blue whales are the largest animals on Earth, and just their tongues weigh as much as an elephant's. But these creatures won't swallow us whole anytime soon. Instead, we should be more concerned about the little, expressive sperm whales. In 1891, James Bartley was swallowed by a whale, and he wasn't rescued until the next day, when the crew killed the whale and brought it aboard to cut it open. They discovered an unconscious, but still alive James Bartley inside. So the first concern should be being torn to pieces by the impressive teeth of a sperm whale. Each tooth is about 20 centimeters long, roughly the length of a typical kitchen knife, and a whale has 40 to 50 teeth. Plus, a sperm whale's throat is dark and slimy, and with reduced oxygen and increased methane levels, you'll quickly find it hard to breathe, especially when the whale's throat muscles contract. Hydrochloric acid will start to corrode your skin. Next, you'll be thrown into the largest of the whale's 4 stomachs. You might see glowing squid or be swallowed after you arrive. After that, you will be tossed from one stomach to another. Stomach acid will break down your body until you are left with only a pile of bones. One thing is certain. You cannot be fully swallowed by a whale. Although whales are huge and look scary to us, They actually have no interest in humans. This episode ends here. Remember to like and share. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
From our perspective, marshmallows and fluff, snowflakes are definitely not stars or planets, but recent scientific discoveries have found planets as fluffy as marshmallows or popcorn. They are exoplanets outside our solar system, with masses several times that of Earth and radii larger than Neptune's. Scientists, using the Kepler Space Telescope, have found special examples. Exoplanets Kepler 51b, 51c, and 51d orbit the Kepler 51 star. 2 years later, experts found another strange low-density object, with a density less than 0.1 grams per cubic centimeter. Just like a marshmallow ball, Kepler 51b and 51ds atmospheres have no water molecules. Their volume is as large as Jupiter's, but their mass is only a few times that of Earth's methane. They have thin clouds that may contain salt crystals. Kepler 51b and 51d resemble superinflated planets. They could float in the center of a suitably sized pool, without sinking. They are different from super-erupting planets. Loose planets are hot stars. They are larger and close to their stars, and continue to expand under stellar energy. Scientists confirm cloud formation relates to the planet's temperature. The lower the temperature, the thicker the clouds. Fogs don't hide all of Kepler 51b, 51c, and 51ds secrets. Researchers found the Kepler 51 planets are actively evaporating material into space, perfectly explaining why superinflation is so rare. There are fewer than 15 such giant planets, about 500 million years old. Their marshmallow-like state may just be a temporary phase. Kepler 51d is the farthest from the Sun. It will become an exceptionally low-density, unusual planet. The James Webb Space Telescope will replace Hubble in 2021. The new equipment will discover more supereruptions and many stranger phenomena. It's estimated there are over 100 billion exoplanets in the Milky Way, of which 4160 have been reliably confirmed. Many undiscovered bodies explain why there are so few giant, ultra-low-density, superinflated planets. In comparison, Kepler 51b and 51d are especially important. This episode ends here. Remember to like and share. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
Friction lets us move and slow down. Friction lets us pick things up and hold on to them. Without friction, we couldn't do anything. Friction is vital to the world because it affects all motion. For example, think about walking, a simple action. Your foot pushes the ground backward. The ground pushes your foot forward, propelling you ahead faster. Walking on concrete is much easier than on ice, because ice has a much lower coefficient of friction than concrete. In other words, ice is smoother than concrete, offering less resistance. That's why your feet slip. The same situation applies to the consideration of friction in car tire design, to ensure no slipping during rotation and braking. Under dry conditions, if the tire is completely smooth, it might let you run faster. But car tires are designed with treads to improve grip in wet conditions. When you drive in rain or snow, even a thin layer of water between the road and tire can cause you to lose control because the contact area greatly reduces, leading to insufficient friction. However, tires with treads have grooves to channel away excess water, ensuring safe driving. Imagine this. Once friction is lost, don't expect fireworks to help you. Matches will fail too, and lighters won't work either. You might not even be able to pick anything up. When you walk on the road, your legs can still move, but you can't go far. If you're in a moving vehicle, you simply won't be able to stop until you hit an obstacle. This means any moving object can become a deadly projectile. In fact, the moment friction is lost, the whole world seems to turn into chaotic, disorderly fragments. We must realize that everything on Earth is made up of atoms and particles, and these atoms and particles stick together through friction. Friction can sometimes make life difficult, but that's much better than losing everything on Earth. This episode ends here. Please remember to like and share. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
Astronomers spent years searching for a special star. Eventually, they found it. They called it unique because its shape resembles a teardrop. The star is named HD 74423. With NASA's help, we learned more about this mysterious celestial body. Scientists found its mass is about 1.7 times that of the Sun. Researchers already know something about these pulsating stars. Our Sun also pulsates periodically. But HD 74423, because of a nearby red dwarf star, orbits every 2 days, creating strong gravitational forces, which stimulate HD 74423 to show its unique features, to explore planets within the Milky Way, and search for potentially habitable worlds. Scientists successfully developed and launched another satellite system. It is called the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, specifically designed to discover transiting exoplanets. This advanced system was launched on April 18, 2018, and has discovered many exoplanets. This has given scientists new insights. For example, a Jupiter-like disk-shaped planet, which provides precise data on how gas giants form in the universe. Therefore, within a few years, it will surely surpass the Kepler satellite's achievements, bringing the academic world many incredible new insights and results. These discoveries constantly remind us how vast the universe is. Scientists and researchers keep making astonishing new findings. This episode ends here. Please leave your comments.
See you next time.
Chimpanzee Ho was the first primitive organism in space, and a pioneer of human space exploration. The Mercury program was a product of the space race between the Soviet Union and the United States. Both countries aimed to be the first to enter space. Before Mercury program, the U.S. military had already begun space exploration work. In 1959, on a rocket headed to Jupiter, the U.S. military sent 2 monkeys, Miss Abel and Miss Baker, into space at 570 kilometers altitude. The mission was successful. Unfortunately, after several days of flight, Ebo died due to a failed operation. Miss Baker didn't live long either. A few months later, the U.S. Space Agency took over the mission of sending humans into space. In 1961, after years of testing the Mercury rocket, NASA was preparing to send an ape into space using the Mercury Redstone rocket. In this mission, the choice of candidate was crucial, because in this situation, the chimpanzee was not only a passenger, but also had to perform tasks in space. The ability to execute tasks in the capsule paved the way for future human astronauts. From 40 candidate chimpanzees, Ham was ultimately selected. A few months later, Ham was ready for flight. Subsequently, Ham was placed in the Mercury Redstone rocket's main cabin for launch. However, for poor Ham, the gravity inside the capsule dropped drastically. After 2.5 minutes, the rocket's liquid oxygen was depleted. The rocket began spinning violently, faster than expected. Nothing could be done. The staff had to send a termination signal. However, Ham was unaware of the problems unfolding around him. When the capsule began re-entering Earth's atmosphere, Ham once again endured higher gravity than expected. 12 minutes later, the capsule sent its first recovery signal. 27 minutes after landing, a search plane finally spotted the capsule floating in the Atlantic. After 3 hours of recovery work, The capsule's extremely valuable payload was airlifted to the nearest naval vessel. NASA scientists awaited Ham's fate, and it turned out he was unharmed. Indeed, he was unharmed. He even appeared quite happy. Not long after, Ham was retired from space travel, spending the remaining 20 years in a zoo. Until 1983, when he passed away. His skeleton was sent to the U.S. National Museum of Health and Medicine. Alright, that's the end of this episode. Please remember to like and share. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode. What would happen if all the stars disappeared tomorrow? What would happen? About 50 million years later, Mars' moon Phobos will crash into Mars and break apart. Within 100 million years, Earth might be hit by an asteroid about the same size as the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. About 1.5 billion years later, the sun will become much brighter. What does it feel like to witness the epic end of the universe? The end of the universe means the end of everything. We can observe 2 trillion galaxies, ranging from massive gas giants to oddly shaped asteroids, with all kinds of matter in between. But your final moment might be completely different, depending on how the universe ends. The universe is expanding, and the distances between galaxies are growing faster and faster. If one day dark energy becomes stronger, it could disperse the fragments of matter needed for star formation too far apart, and existing stars will eventually run out of fuel, with no new stars being born to replace them. The sky will turn dark and cold. Once the temperature drops to absolute zero, nothing will be able to move, not even atoms. The universe will become the most boring and static place. If dark energy becomes strong enough, it will completely counteract gravitational forces, tearing the universe apart, with galaxies being destroyed one after another, followed by black holes disintegrating, then stars, and finally planets and asteroids. As the universe expands, all forms of matter will collapse on their own and decay into radiation. This includes you, humanity. Eventually, the universe will be reduced to a single particle. If gravity's counterforce is strong enough to overturn dark energy, the universe will stop expanding and begin to contract. Planets will collide with each other. Galaxies will merge together. Earth cannot avoid all extraterrestrial matter indefinitely. The universe will compress back into a densely packed starting point, just as it was before the Big Bang. From that starting point, it could create a new beginning for the universe. There will be new planets, new stars,
and new forms of life.
In any case, the universe and everything will come to an end. This will not happen overnight. So we still have time to become a more advanced civilization. We might even find a comfortable exoplanet to settle on. That wraps up this episode. What do you think? Please remember to share your thoughts. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode. Some theories suggest that millions of years ago, Mars was a fertile planet teeming with life. If that's really the case, could Earth be reshaped into a planet suitable for human life? NASA's goal is to land astronauts on Mars in the 2030s. Even though humanity has made steady progress in space colonization, but before we can fill alien planets with large numbers of people, there is still a lot of planning and scientific groundwork to be done. For now, we're basically just space tourists. To make the next big leap, you must start harnessing resources discovered in space. Once we take that step, then you have to use the materials found in space. Then we begin to cultivate. We need to grow some food. We must do our best to leave this land and live on Mars. According to NASA, technological innovations could make Mars more suitable for humans than previously imagined. Ancient astronaut theorists suggest nearly all ancient cultural stories indirectly support this bold idea. The Kaypo people of Brazil in South America have legends about Baipakuruti. He descended from the sky accompanied by tremendous noise and wind, landing on his spacecraft. He then imparted civilization to the people. Herbal remedies and medical knowledge, architecture, and agricultural as well as crop knowledge. Today, the Kayapo people annually celebrate a priest who wears a bizarre outfit resembling a spacesuit. So you have to wonder, if ancient aliens hadn't landed there, where did the idea of people in spacesuits come from?
Today,
We are about to travel to another planet to sow life. This is entirely logical, but it might have happened long ago, on our own planet. That wraps up this episode. What do you think? Please leave your opinions. Thank you for watching.
see you next time.
The moon, our closest celestial neighbor, still holds many mysteries. It's been nearly 50 years since Apollo's final lunar mission. While the explorers answered some questions, some information remains classified. Until now, thanks to freedom of information laws, certain historical secrets have been revealed. One of those mysteries is quite intriguing. In 1971, Apollo 15 in 1971 and Apollo 17 in 1972 buried a batch of small thermometers on the moon's surface. They were buried at different depths. The depths ranged from 1 meter to 2 meters. The purpose was to observe how heat is conducted from the moon's interior to its surface, which will help scientists understand the moon's internal conditions. The detection principle is as follows. It is speculated that the moon possesses a core similar to Earth's, and that its internal geological activity is frequent. However, they discovered some unexpected phenomena. After the astronauts landed on the moon, the temperature on the lunar surface changed. The thermometer showed a gradual rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius to 3.5 degrees Celsius. At that time, they ruled out a power issue with the detector, as well as other heat sources, such as solar radiation. No one could definitively explain the cause. After the lunar mission ended, the detectors remained on the moon. They periodically transmitted lunar temperature data back to Earth. This data was recorded on 7-track tapes. Subsequently, after 8 years of research and analysis, NASA discovered a phenomenon. The detectors kept warming up, and among them, the ones closest to Earth warmed up first, indicating that the heat was coming from above, and then gradually permeated downward. The cause of this phenomenon was that when the astronauts conducted experiments and activities on the moon, they stirred up a large amount of bright and sparkling dust on the lunar surface, exposing the darker soil underneath, which absorbed more sunlight, causing the thermometer to register higher temperatures. Therefore, after that, the thermometer began to rise. Even though the answer is simple, it may seem like a trivial oversight on the surface. But in the distant future, when we clear the dust on Mars, we will have gained some valuable experience. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
It is one of the most dangerous and mysterious places on Earth, spanning 1.3 million square kilometers from Florida to Puerto Rico. It is known as the Bermuda Triangle. There have been nearly 1,000 reports of mysterious disappearances in this region, ranging from small planes that can only carry 2 passengers to ships carrying over 300 people. So if we dump garbage here, will it also disappear? Before that, we should first consider how to get there. Of course, by boat, because a boat can carry more garbage. And heading to Bermuda might seem like an extremely dangerous move to you, but it is very likely that we would all be safe. There are many theories about what exactly happens in the Bermuda Triangle, with both positive and negative explanations. Some hypotheses attribute it to alien civilizations, while others suggest sea monsters. Although these theories sound intriguing, they are far from the truth. And the methane explosion hypothesis regarding the Bermuda Triangle disappearances appears more plausible. Theoretically speaking, methane bubbles rise from the seafloor to the surface and trigger explosions. And the explosions are so violent that they could even capsize the largest vessels. But since this theory was proposed, physicists and ocean experts have vehemently refuted it, arguing that the energy released by methane explosions is far too weak to overturn ships. If a large-scale explosion occurred, the ships would likely survive, since the hull is robust enough to withstand sudden events at sea, including giant waves. If we dump garbage into the sea, it will only float on the surface. So where is that giant sinkhole that makes planes and ships vanish? It should be noted that over the years, those planes and ships always disappeared in the same location. It turns out, the Bermuda Triangle is not that dangerous. All these disappearances can be attributed to bad weather, huge waves, and human error. Although in the past 200 years, nearly 1,000 deaths seem like a lot. But when you understand the Bermuda Triangle is one of the harshest areas in the world, you can understand why. If we dump tons of trash into the sea, maybe the Bermuda Triangle will somehow get rid of it. It is estimated that 14 billion tons of trash are dumped into the ocean each year. Assuming we dump all of New York's yearly garbage into the Bermuda Triangle, that would be only 14 million tons of trash. But this is just a small part of the trash dumped into the ocean annually. So dumping garbage into the Bermuda Triangle is definitely a very bad idea. We should not attempt it. For ocean safety, we should do our best to clean up the oceans, rather than worsen the problem. That's all for this episode. What do you think? Thank you for watching.
See you next time.